Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Etheria restart video. So in today's video, guys, I wanted to talk about the must-build characters that I've seen over the course of playing this for a month. Now, I know I've showed you a bunch of videos lately of a bunch of different characters that are really good in a bunch of different areas, and it's probably overwhelming because you're like, oh, now I need to build this hero, and now I need to build that hero. But I just want to kind of narrow this down into the key heroes that you should really truly be building, okay? Because they're really going to help you for progression. You're going to use them all the way into the end game and onward. And I'll even give you a list of the heroes like from day 1 to, day 30 on who you should be building. So, without further ado, let's kind of jump into that. We're going to start on the very bottom for the rares because there are two rares that I think you should build. The first one is Vice. Vice is amazing. He is really, really strong. The thing that benefits Vice is the fact that he is an LD. So that means he's very useful in Ethernet Rally. He's also extremely useful in Ember Trek, just as a slotted in flex spot, right? He's also extremely good early on for all the turn meter pushback. He gives himself some heals. And the thing with his taunt is a lot of bosses can't be controlled, but they can be taunted. This should not go unnoticed. If you're able to keep the boss just hitting Vice, first of all, it keeps all of your other heroes a lot healthier. But at the same time, they're not using their ultimate skills, which tend to hurt. So, self-healing, he also has the ability to possibly heal some of your allies. But his skill 3 is a attack down turn meter pushback, and it's on a 3-turn cooldown once you get it fully skilled up, which is easily achievable. If you want to make some big account progression, all right, what you should do is you should farm up Arena, save up for your Perfect Lattice and Evolution Lattice, get them first, but you really should at least buy 5 of these micro lattices to skill up your Vice. I think that's going to do a world of help for your account. This is more so for the people that are early on, that are just about to jump into the game. Maybe their account is a week old or something like that. For the people that are, in Hell 4 and Hell and Inferno and stuff like that, you might not need Vice. He is still very good for the late game. Like, anyone can truly use him. But yeah, I would highly recommend Vice. This skill is extremely good, and to have it on a 3-turn cooldown is quite nice. Now, the other rare that I think is good, but he won't really be needed until a little bit later on, is Kochi. So you get Kochi for free. You start with him, but he's one of those rare heroes that does a turn meter pushback and a crowd control AoE. Now, it's a lower percentage chance, but this does come in handy on later stages. Where Kochi ends up being very, very strong are areas like Karuru. Karuru is very good early on because Karuru puts like these jellyfish out, and they can end up doing a decent amount of damage. So if you stun them and turn meter pushback, same thing with Karuru, you can turn meter push him back. That gives you more time to kill the jellyfish before they explode. Okay? Other areas where Kochi will come in really clutch is Sharon. Now, Inferno Sharon is one of the biggest pains in the butt. I can't stand that level, but on Sharon Hell, turn meter pushing back the boss and then also stunning her little plants, big game changer. He can even be used on Shadow Flame Hoyon as your crowd control hero because Shadow Flame Hoyon's ads attack you. Same thing with Rengo Kotsu. So he's a perfect free-to-play option there, but not only does his turn meter pushback and stun, not only is that really good, but he also has a 100% turn meter push up and gives your damage dealer a attack up buff while also reducing their skill cooldown. You don't need lattices into this either. So all you really need to do is the same thing as Vice, in my opinion, although I think you could skill up all of Vice's skills and it would not be a waste. But here, you only need this skill leveled up. So those two rares, I think, should be a very strong priority for early game players. I think they're going to make a world of difference for progression. Now, when it comes to the SRs, I've got a list of heroes here, but I am going to let you know that if you have the corresponding SSR, you shouldn't prioritize them. All right. So Dinah is quite strong as a debuffer, right? She does vulnerable, she does erosion and defense down. This cannot be ignored. She does 100% get outclassed, though, by Kloss, which a lot of people have now started to recommend Kloss as the targeted summon hero. I think that is an extremely safe pick, and I would not, fret anyone to pick Kloss as the targeted summon. Her debuffs are not as impactful in regards to pure damage amplification, but the reduced speed on her skill 3, along with the damage reduction on her hacking progress and hack-in, certainly outclasses Dinah. Now, there are cases where if you wanted to use Dinah, like in a red dungeon, you can't really use Kloss there. Late game, you can still use Kloss, even in the mid to towards end game, and she's still going to be better than Dinah because of the damage reduction. She'll stay alive a decent amount. So for sure, if you don't have Kloss, I think Dinah will really help with you pushing some content. But if you have Kloss, do not build her, in my opinion. Now, next is Kazami Kazuyo. I just put out a video on Kazami. I think she's fantastic. She is the only SR unit in the entire game that has AoE speed up, and it's for 3 turns. This is a very rare skill in this game. But on top of that, she also brings another added effect, which is also extremely rare in the game, where she reduces Animus skill cooldowns and Shell skill cooldowns. I think she's an amazing unit. However, it does go without saying that if you have a hero like a Tsukiyomi, or if you were lucky enough to pull a Lily or a Mio, I don't think you need to level her up. The skill cooldown reduction is very, very strong. But I think that's going to be more towards a late game build for most people, where you're trying to somewhat cheese content with different shells like Artisan and Halloween and Revelation. But until then, if you have those other heroes that I mentioned, I don't think you need to build her because this is kind of a late game thing. So in regards to the heroes, right? Dinah, if you don't have Kloss, I think is a very strong early game hero that will scale into the late game. Kazami is a hero that I don't think you need to build early on. However, she will become a lot better later because of the skill cooldown reduction. Next up is Fangus. Fangus is one of the DO tiers, but he also has AoE speed down, which is the only hero in all of Red that has an AoE speed down. This is really, really strong on Terramaton. But the dot won't get super strong until the later stages. So I don't think Fangus needs to be built until later on in the game. He should be a late game priority for you guys, but still a very, very good hero. Next up is Viper. Viper is also one of those heroes that you just don't find really anywhere else in the game, including SSRs. Now, there is someone who's somewhat comparable to him in Holden, but Holden brings a different debuff than Viper. So both Viper and Holden dispel. But Holden brings resistance down, which is also good in its own right, instead of the speed down, where Viper brings speed down and attack down. This guy, I think, is a perfect early character to build. And I think if you put 4 lattices into his skill 3 only, it's going to help you clear a lot of content that you're probably stuck on. You can even throw him into, a team going up against a Karuru or something like that, even though he's a negative affinity, because the attack down and the speed down is so impactful. Um, so yeah, I don't think there's really a replacement for him other than Holden, and even then, the speed down is such a strong ability that if you don't have another AoE speed down hero, he might be better than Holden in a lot of places. Next up is Obel. Obel is very similar to Fangus, where I really don't think you need to build him until late game, because that's when the dots start becoming a lot better. However, the fact that he brings dots and stuns is kind of a game changer. He's very similar to Kochi, how I reference Kochi's turn meter, pushback, and stun. Obel, on the later stages of the game, where Dot is very, very impactful and does a lot of damage, he's better than Kochi in that regard because he's doing damage while also stunning. He can be your main damage dealer, and I've showed some runs with him, like on Shadowflame Hoyon, on the Inferno stage. He is my only damage dealer. Now I'm just looping back around to this skill to do all the damage and then stun the ads. But again, he's like Fangus, where you truly don't need to build him until late game. Early game, you should not be building Obel, in my opinion. Next is Kazuyo the Reverie. I think everyone knows that this hero is extremely impactful in Doki Doki Dungeon, which is where the speed gear drops, which is a huge boost to your account if you get decent speed gear. Everything is kind of based around speed in this game currently, because prior to the nerfs that are going to be happening, probably around the same time this video drops, the bosses are just very hard to kill. They hit very hard. So tank teams aren't really a thing. Whether or not that becomes a thing, I don't know. But Kazuyo the Reverie is extremely strong in Doki Doki because she has a 3-turn cooldown effect that not only puts attack down to help your longevity, but she does have crowd control, which is the key piece to that dungeon. She will be a total game changer for you in beating that dungeon easily, and it allows you to build just a slew of different characters from a damage dealing perspective as long as you have her. You can use Gray as your damage dealer, you have Real Mocha as your damage dealer, you can even use Freya as a damage dealer, you have Shiata, Rosa. There's a bunch of heroes that can be slotted in there, but Kazuyo the Reverie is going to be the key. But the nice thing as well is she only needs her skill 3 leveled up, and we all know lattices are a rarity. But she is one of those heroes that I think is an early character build. Kazuyo the Reverie and Dinah currently are the early builds from the SR perspective. Now, these next 3 heroes I think should be top priority, with Kachi the Guard kind of falling towards the tail end. I think the very first SR character you should build is Valerian, if you pull her. Now, she is an LD, but her skill 3 is so impactful. Her shields are extremely important, and then she also adds really good buffs. This cannot be understated, and you'll use her all the way into the late game. I use her in 95% of my teams, but you do need her skill 3 fully leveled up. But if you do this, again, even if you don't have a great healer or anything like that, sometimes the shields and the equalizing HP is enough. But I would make her the number 1 priority for SRs. The second priority is Dinning. This guy's damage is just so strong. The problem with Dinning is that he requires lattices in all of his skills. So he almost requires 12 lattices. He requires 11 of them, which is a lot, but he will do wonders for account progression. He outdamages like 90% of the SSRs. It's insane. I have not built him yet because I've been busy trying to show you guys some under-the-radar SRs, but he is next on my list. I need to build him. I need him for certain content to clear, special events that are ongoing, where if I had a Ditting, I'd be progressing a little bit further in them. So it cannot go unnoticed how much damage he actually throws out. And if he's the second SR on your account that you build, I think it's just going to be, progression city for you. And then Kachi the Guard is next. Now, the reason why Kachi the Guard is towards the back end of this is because he requires a lot of stats. The main stat that he needs is effect accuracy. He needs 181% effect accuracy, which is extremely hard for early and mid game players to hit, and they will never hit it. However, if you lattice him up, he does get some effect accuracy on his prowess wheel, and you don't really need the 2 turns of immunity that happens from this critical success. You only really truly need to trigger the success, which is a lot easier threshold to hit. It's like 105% effect accuracy or something like that. So he is definitely towards the tail end. But once you are farming enough Doki Doki where Time Weave starts to drop for you, it's a very impactful set for your effect accuracy, and then you will be able to utilize Kachi the Guard 100%. So those are the most impactful SRs. Now, if you have pulled some of these SSRs, maybe the SRs aren't as needed. So Mia. I think Mia is a perfect replacement as well for somebody like Kazuyo Kazami, the speed up character. She doesn't have speed up on her kit, but she does have that really busted skill on her skill 3, which is reducing all the skill cooldowns while also providing a really huge heal. If you have her and Ling Luo in a team, your team will be extremely healthy almost the entire match. So it's a good 1-2 combo punch. If you have a hero like Shiada, who's quite easy to build, in my opinion, or if you were lucky enough to pull a Messiah or a Yeli, that's when Didding is a little more negotiable early game, because there's a lot of wave content early on where Messiah and Shiada are a bit better. And Shiada and Messiah also pair extremely well with Valerian, which is who I told you to build first. And Valerian also pairs really well with Leon, which is the free SSR character that you get. So that is that's something to consider. Now, if you pull Ling Luo early, or if you already have her, this is another hero where you can kind of prioritize her over Kachi the Guard, because she does provide that 1-turn immunity like Kachi without having to hit the effect accuracy threshold. She's much easier to build. So early on, I think that's okay, but eventually you will need the 2-turn immunity and you will need the defense up from Kachi the Guard, and it won't be really negotiable at a certain point in the game. Tsukiyomi is another one that I think a lot of people, even though they have Lily or Mio, they're not leveling up Tsukiyomi. I think the cooldown reduction on her skill 2 is just something that cannot be replaced. Her and Mia together it kind of feels like cheating. I ideally need to eventually level up her skill 2 to really abuse that. And I think it will help me even clear some content, but I've really been focusing on the content creation side for you guys, where I haven't been extremely efficient with my own account. And then the last thing that I need to say before we end this video is, if you guys pulled some LD characters, build them. They are extremely strong. There should be absolutely no shame in using these characters, okay? If you pulled them, you should be extremely excited. And you should utilize them because they are absolutely busted, okay? And whenever content creators aren't making videos on efficiencies and great SR heroes to build or underrated SSRs, they're using LDs, myself included. Now, I haven't built up really anyone other than a Yeli currently, but it's coming, right? I'm going to start utilizing these heroes more and more now that I've kind of showed you clears of Inferno content, and I'm just going to start really min-maxing my clears on Inferno. I'm going to start utilizing PvP, all of those things. So if you guys have these characters, please use them. They are really, really strong, and they're going to do wonders for your account. Okay? So that's all I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.